Welcome to a brand new In the Shop, and I've got a good one for you today. And in today's shop video, look at the hat, we're talking about my top 4 baits for the month of December. For the month of December. Yes, it's the holidays. Yes, Christmas is happening, but December is also some prime time cold water bassin. You know how we do these shop videos? I'm going to give you four baits, and I'm going to break it down. 2 for the northern part of the country, 2 for the southern part of the country, and keep in mind, all 4 of these baits will probably work in December wherever you live. All right, let's start with my first one, and I'm going to talk about a bait that is great up north. You know, from Virginia up, right now we've got wintertime conditions. We've got water that's in the 50s to 40s, even all the way down to the 30s, depending where you live. So this is winter pattern. And because of that, fish get deeper, they get on bait, and they love to be around more vertical areas, more vertical structure, right? Because of that, without a doubt, my number 1 bait in the north for the month of December is a blade bait. You often hear this referred to as metal, but a blade bait is a great lure this month. This is a Mullex Trago Vibe. It's absolutely one of my favorite blade baits. And when you look at it, it basically looks like a thin metal version of a lipless crankbait, right? A rattle trap style lure. That's the profile. And the great thing about this blade bait is its versatility and the ability to control it. Again, December, cold water. I love to fish this thing near the bottom. I can let it sink down to the bottom. And a lot of times the way that I like to fish it are just real short little hops. You know, the colder the water, the shorter the hop, right? So I'm not making giant hops. I'm just short rod tip lifts. And every time you do this, this thing vibrates and falls. Looks a lot like a dying bait fish. So deeper water areas. Give you an example. Dam areas. Riprap, deep marinas, anywhere that a main channel, creek channel or river channel bends in toward the bank and creates that steeper bank, almost like a bluff style bank. I love working that down those breaks. The other thing is with the advent of forward-facing sonar, this has become a big weapon for seeing fish, casting to them, and for fish that are under the boat vertically. You can't beat that. So number 1 bait in December for me, especially north of Virginia, is a blade bait, metal blade bait. All right, we're going to go to number 2. And number 2 for me is a bait that really has gotten a lot of attention with fishermen, but with me personally. And bait number 2 for the month of December is a Jig Head minnow. A Jig Head minnow, a minnow style bait on a regular ball head. And the interesting thing with that rig is I can do a lot of different things with a Jig Head minnow, okay, in the month of December. For suspended fish, I can mid-stroll it. I can drop down on fish that are suspended deep, and I could mope it or Demiki rig it. I could jig that thing off the bottom vertically. It just has a ton of versatility. The basic rig is so easy, guys. It's a jig head, anything from 1/8 or 3/16 up to 1/4 or 3/8, and then a minnow style lure. I've experimented with a lot of them. 3 to 5 inches is the size range I like, but that's at Berkley Max Scent minnow. And the reason I like that in December is it's a little bit smaller profile. It's got that forked tail, That's the correct way. Most fluke and minnow baits, it's like that. On that one, it's like that. And it has that little flat spot on the bottom. That's a great bait to rig in this style. Jig head, pick your favorite jig head. Make sure it's got a 90-degree line tie. It's going to keep it horizontal. But in the month of December, when I'm out there usually fishing deeper water up north, colder water, if I see them suspended, I'll mid-stroll it. If I see them toward the bottom, I'll jig it. If I see them suspended just off the bottom, I'll mope it right over their heads. A lot of versatility. Because of that, a jig head minnow is my second favorite bait in the month of December, especially up north. All right, let's keep going. Now we're going to get to my third favorite bait, and I'm going to give you two for down south. So this is, Bugs Island, Kerr Reservoir, North Carolina, south, all the way to Florida, Texas, Louisiana. In December, down south, it's cold too. Now, it's not cold like it is up here, but some of the coldest water temperatures of the year are hitting. Cold fronts are coming, water temperatures dropping, vegetation's dying, all that stuff's gone down. Because of that, my favorite bait in the winter down south is skirted jig. Skirted jig. When that water gets cool, even down south, and we're not talking about 30s and 40s. A lot of times we're talking about 50s or high 40s. Dude, nothing is better than a skirted jig. And really, for me, there's two styles. The one is a smaller, more compact jig. This is a missile mini flip. And I've been fishing it a lot, guys, in the month of December with just a little soft stick bait on the back. I've been calling it Ned jigging, or the Ned jig. And it's a phenomenal bait. I'm going to have another separate video on that completely to talk about this. But this is a great bait in early December when they're still feeding on a lot of bait fish. Later in December, as that water really starts to cool off, nothing beats a big football head jig as those fish get deeper in the month of December. Half ounce, 3/4 ounce, even a 1 ounce football jig. This is a headbanger by Missile. And I really like a chunk style trailer. A Max Scent chunk, Berkley Power Bait chunk, the old rabbit ears on the back. And if you look at that profile, it looks like a big crawfish. Remember, in the month of December, even down south, fish want an easy meal. They're getting slower. They're getting lethargic. They're moving toward the bottom. And that's a great choice for December fish down south. All right, last but not least, guys, talking about my fourth top December bait. And this one is super effective down south, but all over the country in the month of November. And I'm going back to metal. But instead of the blade bait, on this one, I'm going old school. And this is the tail spinner. The tail spinner. A lot of different sizes. I carry the little itsy bitsy 1/4 ounces all the way up to those big 3/4 ounce sizes. The half, the 3/8 get a lot of attention, but I want to show you this tail spinner. And if you're an old guy, you remember the Little George. Well, this is a Molex Trago spin tail, and this is a updated version of a Little George. It's just a tricked out Little George. But if you look at that bait, just like the metal blade bait, the tail spinner, you have a tremendous amount of control. So, that thing in the wintertime, in December, in the south, I can fish this vertical around bridge pilings, seawalls. I could fish it down a bluff or a steep bank, right? Really keep it in contact with the bottom. I could even reel it through or pop it through suspended fish. This lure does a great job of mimicking dying bait fish. And here's the best thing about a tail spinner in the month of December. It has flash and vibration. And when fish attack that, all they're going to get is a mouthful of treble hooks. So extremely versatile. I know what you're thinking. It's got a single treble on the belly. It's going to snag a lot. But listen, The way these things come through the water, it comes nose first, and that pressure of that water really stays under the belly and keeps it snagless. All right, guys, there you have it. There are my top 4 baits for the month of December. I hope you have a great month, and I hope you have a great holiday. Remember, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. If you are, tell your friends about Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube. I hope you have a good day. Happy holidays! Ho, ho, ho! Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli. I hope you enjoyed this week's In the Shop. I hope you learned a little bit. And if you like these videos, remember, there's a whole boatload. Check out these 2, and you're going to learn more about bass fishing.